Hey guys, welcome back to the Poker Reborn channel. We are checking out the ManHunters today, and this is going to be all over the place. I'm just forewarning you guys, there's so much to ManHunters that I'm probably not going to explain it all. I got all my notes here, but if you guys have a question, please let me know in the comment section below. If I do miss something, I do apologize. Like I said, there's just a lot to go over. I'm going to do one thing to the next, and I'm going to show a little bit of combat so that way you can see how this all is affected, like between the ManHunters and the Indebted. And so without further ado, let's dive into the Indebted. So pretty much starting out, this is what you get with an Indebted. You have negative 25% experience gain. They cap at level 11. However, if you use the student perk, I'll show you that. So if you use the student perk, you get 20% experience point dropped off of that 25. So now it's only negative 5% experience in combat. It's very strong, but we'll talk about that in a bit. The next thing that you can see here is death is permanent if hit. I mean, it doesn't matter. If you get struck down, you will not survive with a permanent injury. You're just dead. That's it. There's no coming back from it. Next thing, morale checks. There is no trigger of morale check if an Indebted dies. Trust me, plenty are going to die, and if they're in the reserve, there's no issues there. The next thing I want to tell you guys is not all Indebted are created equal, but there are some very high similarities. Starting out, hit points are between 40 and 50. And every other stat I have found has just been all over the place. Defensively, I've seen some good things. I've seen some bad things. I've seen melee skill at a very nice spot of like 57, so I'm assuming it's between 45 and 57. I've seen it anywhere in there. I mean, it's all over the place. The next thing too is the traits. Traits vary. 1 minute, you get a guy like this. He's tiny, good defense, makes a solid tank. The next minute, you get a brother like, where am I at here? Or like this, yeah, that's perfect. Hesitant and Craven. You get complete crap stats. I have seen everything in the book except for, that I can remember, Drunkard. Now you might say, well, how many have you lost? How many have you actually tried out? Here you go. Here's my list. 26 brothers have fallen. I've had ones that were really good. I've had ones that were really bad. And when I say really good, I mean really good for an Indebted. I can tell you also that throughout the whole campaign, the whole map, I had gone high and low. I had done all the trading. I've done all the little minute things that you may not expect to do, at least with these guys. I feel like I have at least. I've done not everything. I guess I can't say that. But within 100 days, 1 to 100 days, this is what I've been able to accomplish with my brothers. But death comes for everybody. Now, it might come to a question as to, well, what worked, right? I have tried many different types of builds. Unfortunately, being that it was only 1 to 100 days, there's a lot of things I wasn't able to fully test out in terms of the ManHunters, which I'll get to in a second. However, with these guys, I look at it as 9 lives has been the single best perk starting out. Your first perk, nothing on this front deal was as important as 9 lives. One of the big things that's been brought up was Colossus. Problem with Colossus is your hit points are so low that you're only getting about 10 to 12, maybe 15. If you're at 50 hit points, then you're going to go up to 65, which is nice, and I can understand that aspect of it. But as many brothers had died, if I had put 9 lives on them, they'd still be here. I can tell you that without a doubt, I would have over 50 deaths in my group if I did not have 9 lives. So now, how did I get all of these guys on the line here? Well, the number one thing that I figured was, if I'm going to have the Indebted, I want them to not just be literally the whole word fodder. How to do that is, what I felt was pretty simple once I figured it out, and that is going in and buying as much gear as possible and slapping it on them, even if it meant having a low deal of fatigue. The idea was partially the back line would do a lot of the damage, front line would hold, and if I needed them to, they'd attack. Now when they attack, however, I would use all spears to start out, and that's how I did it with the campaign. That's how I actually got a pretty good running start. But when people start dying left and right, it gets to be, I don't know, the campaign becomes pretty much like a salamander, or you could say like a starfish. when you cut off a limb, it eventually grows back, right? Whenever you attack something, they come back. The Indebted itself, throughout the whole map, I can tell you, you can buy Indebted in the south, costs no wages whatsoever, and anything that you fight that is of a human origin, you can actually enslave or indebt. That includes caravans, that includes barbarians, and there is something interesting about barbarians I'm actually gonna get, so I don't forget about this. This is one of the barbarians that I ended up getting, and his stats, for some reason, he's over 50 hit points. Now I don't know if that's a coincidence or what, but the point is still he's a little better in that category. I have no idea why. He's the only one that I have come across that's like that. Here's another one. This is a barbarian as well. All the people that you see that has this gear, they are barbarians. So for some reason, barbarians' hit points are higher. I don't know why. Going across the board, here's one. And I think this guy might actually be a barbarian as well. But it's one of those things where most guys are not going, they're not like, their range is very, very limited. The next piece of the puzzle here is with the builds, what happens after 9 lives. Well, I tend to go with Gifted, not just because I like the perk, but because it's very effective boosting certain stats for them. It gears you up for whether it's going to be a slog of defense or it's going to be added to their actual attack. It just depends. I love the fact of fast adaptation because a lot of the things that you face now are way smarter. Raiders shield wall, enemies are more likely to go around and or have higher defense. It feels like they have higher defense, but partially because all these guys have such terrible melee. But yeah, that extra 10% really helped out as well. If we're going into, I know there's a lot of talk about nimble tanks. I could totally see that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that far with a lot of the Indebted because of the constant deaths. The one Indebted that I had since day one is this guy here. 100 days, 42 battles, and 35 kills. Not all the time was he up here because constantly they get injured and they go on the bench. So half the battles is probably missing because of that factor. But just remember that there's a lot of fights that are going to dictate what happens next. Now, as for our crowns, because I know that kind of ties in as well, I never once broke 100 crowns, and ironically it's 99, which is kind of funny. But for the most part, the general time that I had played, I was about 37, 40 right in there. Then I started buying more guys. I do have multiple other brothers that I picked up that were not Indebted that just didn't make the cut. They died, or I wanted to mix them in, and I had definitely a struggle until I decided to again live on the edge. If you guys watch my first video with ManHunters, what I did was I outfitted all of my guys with solid gear across the line. I figured I'm gonna live to 100 crowns. It'd take me 3 days to blow through those crowns. I'd get everybody solid, go out and rinse, repeat. I'd go get Indebted, I'd kill something, they'd be like, hey, this guy survived, he now is indebted to your group, yada yada. Here's where we ended up with. So now the question now lies, what about ManHunters? Because if Indebted are constantly fodder but at the same time have potential, where's the potential coming from? And that's going to be from the combat. Out of the sheer case of fun, I decided this was more than appropriate for the occasion. So as the fodder lines up here, I'm going to actually show you where they get buffed. How do they actually get stronger? Now there's a whip mechanic that all ManHunters have, but not only just ManHunters, it's the people that you hire. So anybody who's not Indebted becomes technically a ManHunter, even though their actual characteristic trait of who they are stays the same. So we'll let these douchers fly in here, freaking my guys out. Now one of the cool things with the whip, before I actually show you the stats, is anybody whose morale is waving, they can whip them, and they don't have to have a whip, guys. That's just added effect. It's helped. I'm just trying to disarm people and stuff. That's just why I had it. But anybody can be whipped regardless if they have a whip. So if I whip this guy, he gets a buff to his stats, and all of his resolve is back. Like, he goes back to square one. And I'll show you that with Ortwin. Now, Ortwin's the newer brother to, or, oh no, he's not a newer brother. I thought there was, he's not a newer brother, but that's alright, that's fine. The point is that this skill, Crack the Whip here, inflicts 1 to 3 damage that ignores armor, gives the status effect for 2 turns, a whipped effect, and it increases with the level of the character. Now, that because he's level 7, I'm going to show you exactly how high this character's gone up. So here we go. I just want to make sure. There he is. Okay. So now all of his stats are boost. You can't see it from this point, but when I hover over this one brother, because he's level 7, not level 10, at level 10, you get a boost of 10 from plus 10 from melee skill all the way to initiative. And then you get plus 1 melee and range defense. But as you level up, they bump up 1. So it goes to 11 across the board, and it goes to 12 across the board as you level up. So because he's level 7, it's 16 melee skill, and all the way down, and then 7 melee defense. Now this guy looks not so terrible. Now you put that on a brother like this guy over here, we're talking a different game here. Because that extra, I mean, we're talking, that would be 74, at least melee. The defense rises. I mean, the defense is going to be solid as is, but everything else is getting that boost as well, as you can see here, the resolve and everything. So yeah, that's kind of the cool, that's not kind of, it is the very cool thing. Now, understandably, you can whip at least 2 guys, and we can keep doing this across the board. I'm just going to end these guys' turn. Alright, where is it? So this is one of the guys, this is the original ManHunter that I had. He's been around this whole time. And so his level 6 actually is underneath the other guy, so he's going to have a different status effect. So we'll whip, how about we look at one of these guys here? Let's look at you. So, Abrir, I think is how you say it. Nonetheless, look at his stats there. 57, 32, 34, and so on. I keep going to the fatigue. It doesn't affect fatigue, just as a heads up. So now he's whipped. Go back in. Alright, so now all of his stats, look how much they boost. This general location, your resolve, the initiative, all that stuff, completely boost to 15. Just because he's 1 level less than the other guy, that's why it's plus 15 and down. Yeah, there's a lot of little variances to this, guys. I just want to make sure you guys can see this. And that goes across the whole board. Again, you can keep whipping, guys. You can see who's not indebted. So I have 7, it looks like. Plus, I got guys on in the reserve right now, too, that don't have it. So this guy here, I think he's new. Yeah, he's newer. So again, this is another situation. I'll just show you guys this. So his resolve's back. This guy's going to look a lot better. Here's another scenario where a guy can help out the band. But here we go. So his stats, here we go. It's 12 all the way down because he's level 3. All right. I think you guys are getting the gist, at least I hope you are. If you don't understand, just watch it back over. Ask in the comment section. I'll help you out. But that's pretty much how that works on the line and through. So that is really cool, at least. So let me show you the next piece. Now that we're back, there is one big thing that I think a lot of people want to know, or at least I've heard this question brought up many times, and that is, can you free your indebted? And unfortunately, I never had any quest that said you could. As far as I know, that was a mechanic that was supposed to be for the slave drivers run. They talked about it in the dev blogs, so there's that. But I hadn't had that. Now, the question was, if I go to let someone go, if I just am like, you know what, let's get rid of this guy. He's complete trash, whatever. He's not going to make it in the group anyways. I just can't use him. So here's the deal, dismiss. This technically, as it says, if you read up top, it says dismiss this character from your roster, saving daily wage to make room for someone else. Indebted characters will be freed from slavery and leave your company. Now hang on a second. I know what you're going to say. Puggo, you just said you can't free slaves. Okay, well, first off, will be freed from slavery. I thought it was indebted. Okay, but serious. When I go to let him go, we have to pay him to leave. Really free. You really want to free him? Yes. But you have to pay him. So that's the interesting thing. Let's say this guy has fought nobly. He's amazing. You know what? He deserves his freedom. Holy crap, 1,000 crowns? I'd rather have you stay on the team. So technically, yes and no. Yes, you can free them, but it's at the cost of, I mean, it's, I hate to say, if you want to use your moral compass, yes, you can free them. If you want to piss everybody off in your group without paying them, yes, you can free them. But if you're being a realist about the crowns, you can sit here playing this game forever and constantly buy them, then free them. That's your choice. But there's no, so far there hasn't been any events, there hasn't been any like letting them go and feeling good about it. There's no like, if I do it right now, in fact, I'll just show what it does here. So we're gonna pay him, he's gone. Go to morale, glad to see Hugger gets reparations for his time. Not anything about being freed as a slave, like giving anybody hope. There's no like big jubilee type of thing. It'd be cool if there was a morale boost. That would be pretty cool. But it just feels empty. Okay, so hopefully that does explain that for you guys. I shouldn't have thrown you off like that. But still the point remains is that it's just not rewarding is the thing. There's nothing that you really get from it. Anyways, let's see, the crowns. I think I already talked to you guys a little bit more about that. But again, you can go a long time constantly outfitting your guys. The crowns throughout, you'd be surprised how much you get. I love caravans. Caravan missions were amazing for this run, and I say that because most things don't want to face a crap ton of brothers. So if you're using caravans, you can go from place to place. I mean, we're talking if every day, if 9 more days gives me something, and I can get a quest for 3 days to the north for 1,500 crowns, I'm making an insane profit. This is a great campaign for trading goods because you're constantly moving about. My early strategy is use all your money to about 100 crowns to get some more indebted and to get really good gear. And then keep recycling, keep going up north. Don't do the quests to the south. The things that you face in the south destroy your initiative. They throw the sand in your face, they destroy your initiative. Go to, like this map, I'm not saying it's the perfect map, but it has been really good. All I did was stay in this pocket right here. I got rich. I mean, there's good trading routes through here. The trading through just these 2 areas is just stupid. I mean, I made a fortune as I was going through here, but I was constantly trying to re-up the gear, constantly trying to get more indebted, and trying new brothers. I wasted a lot of money trying to find the right hunters. Not hunters in general, but just like Beast Slayer, trying out a thief, trying out all these things. By the way, too, just because it's funny, I ended up getting the melon mugger. So, anyways, moving on. So yeah, I mean, use your time to get out of the south and go up here, because anything you kill, there's a percentage chance. It almost felt like 50-50 on every battle that I went into, and like the more men you face, the better chance it felt like you had. I don't have any numbers on that. I can't tell you how that really works, but yeah. So the gear itself, a lot of the things that you can find in the south, you can get this for a very fair price. I mean, if it's damaged, you're getting around 100 crowns. That's a lot of gear that you can just throw on your front line. Get spears early on. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. And as you get rolling about, once you get to about 60 melee skill, then you can start switching up. But yeah, your number 1 perk, I'm telling you, you guys don't have to agree with me now. And even if you don't agree with me later, that's perfectly fine. But I am telling you, this perk saved me time and time again. Tactics, however, would be your backliner. You can... I love the suggestions by a lot of people, and that sadly, again, I wasn't able to try everything out. But what I did find is switching out, having brothers from different classes on the front line with these guys to help support them is a very, very solid idea. If you have more indebted than you do, or if you have more non-indebted people, or the ManHunters, than you do the indebted, they're going to get pissed. The morale actually drops throughout the whole company. It's not good, so you're going to want to have a fair amount of indebted and then have these guys mixed in between. It definitely is better for the scaling purposes as to why, you look at this brother right here who's at level 7. He didn't come into the part, he was in, How long has he been with me? So for 73 days. He didn't do a lot, but he definitely was enough to give people a solid buff. And you get the right guys in the back line with axes and stuff, you can do a lot of damage. When you're in the south or in the north, with the way that the AI acts now, for instance, raiders will come to the line, they'll crash the line, they'll shield wall, and they'll attack. They'll attack, shield wall. These guys are not meant to attack. Like, they just are not great at attacking. You're going to be whiffing. So what I was doing to change it up, and unfortunately I did lose 2 axes through this, just from whatever, the deaths and so on, and how they came around and all that. But axes themselves, long axes are great. Don't use them to just destroy, just to constantly hit at the opponent. Break the shields down and let these guys go to town. You can absolutely tear through people. This is not a new strategy, but in terms of the indebted, it's you're only boosting them, giving them the best opportunity to win and to level up, giving them the kills, not your backliners. That's a huge part. The next thing that I found worked incredibly well, and I kept going up to the north. I'd find stuff over here. I don't know if they have. Yeah, no, I think it's right here. So I kept going up to Essenwall, and I was buying dogs. Dogs are so good for this campaign. I mean, man. So I've been talking about how the AI moves around and whatnot, and a lot of time archers will stand by themselves, or they'll move out and about. They've actually come around to try to flank the side line here. It's crazy. They bog you down, like they'll spread out, raiders will spread out, and like they'll bog you down, and then their archer will come over and shoot. Dogs have helped me out where I could just release all the dogs. Release the hounds, you know, Game of Thrones-esque. But no, releasing all the hounds, you can release at any point and they will defend or they will help. If somebody ends up dying, if one of your indebted dies, boom, there's a dog back in its place. Now you might say, well, that's terrible. That's a lot of fodder. That's a lot of extra. Well, I mean, between warhounds and actual dogs, the extra boost to surrounding something, the extra bites, I mean, the morale checks, everything. It takes away from destroying your good brothers that you want to keep for a long time. Also, when you're on the world map, the reason why caravans are so easy is because people don't want to face the numbers game. Well, with dogs, the dogs actually help the numbers game even more. And in a very crappy situation where you can't take on the fight, release a few dogs and run the hell away. It works out fantastic. It saves brothers' lives. I had so many. It's like losing rotation. You get rid of rotation and you swap it out with a dog, for instance, where they're going to attack the dog so you can do something, shield wall, and back out of the fight. Something like that's really, really well. I already talked about the mixing of brothers, and of course the trading is very powerful in this campaign. The final thing, or one of the final things that I want to talk about is the retinue. The retinue is cut and dry. I can tell you exactly what I would say. Number one, get the cook. You are going to constantly leave fights with injuries left and freaking right. I mean, I'm talking people are just the 9 lives thing, constantly proccing. Guys constantly healing. You need your supplies. You're going to want your medical supplies, so that's a big part of it. She gives provisions an extra 3 days. That's huge, especially with the amount of food you're going to be picking up. Most of your crowns are going to go towards food, so you're going to want to be on top of that. The next thing too is the healing rate. Look at that, 33 freaking %. That is insane for these guys. Literally one night, not like a half day, all of your brothers can be healed. It's awesome. Next thing would be like Scavenger. Scavenger's a great one. I do regret getting Scavenger over another. Let's see, where are you at? Oh, the Surgeon. If I could go back, I would have gotten the Surgeon over this. Because of how many injuries you do take. There's so many injuries. It doesn't matter if you're wearing, this insane. It doesn't matter the armor. You guys are gonna be cut up like crazy. This guy can save your campaign. Granted, every man without a permanent injury guaranteed to survive, otherwise fatal blow. I don't know if that negates indebted, so that's one thing I did not test out. As you can see, I didn't have this, but makes injuries take 1 less day to heal. Literally, if you get into a fight, you're done. Again, your crowns are daily crowns are so low. You can just sit there and camp for a few days. Not to say you do that, but it's an option because most things don't want to ambush something they can't take on, or they don't feel comfortable taking on. The AI logic overrides the idea of taking you on. So there's definitely that. The next thing I would say if I had to do like 4 retinue, right? I would do like blacksmith is a big one because the armor is constantly being chopped down. You want to take care of that. The surgeon, of course. The scavenger, I am very happy I had the scavenger. I just feel like it, with the 2 retinue parts or the 2 spots that I had, could have been better off with the surgeon. But let's see here. Another one I would say is the drill sergeant. This could easily be the best one for this group. And I want to push this idea. Please listen to me on this one. If you have somebody with a permanent injury that's not one of the indebted, obviously, get the freaking drill sergeant. Makes your men gain 20% more experience at level 11 with 2 less each further level. That's crazy. That is legit insane for this run. All your fodder is going to start at negative 5%. If you get that student perk, you're going to go up plus 15% if you want to go that route. But again, the reason why I'm saying the food one would be first is so that you can get your men up. But if you have any way, shape, or form, if you're able to get that freaking training one, that is the best retinue technically, next to cook, next to these other ones that just drive it home. The final thing that I want to say is just my overview how I saw this run play out. And I know this is a longer video. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it at least. Hopefully you're getting something from this. And again, I'm sorry if I missed something, but my overall playing this out, and I'm just some guy playing it, guys. At the end of the day, I'm one of those people that likes to lab. I lab really hard. I don't try to stick to this is the way it is. I have to stay that course forever. And I'm not saying anybody else does and so on, but when I try different things out with this, it just felt like the same thing. It just felt like a bad rinse and repeat. Like the whole thing with this is a starfish, this is a salamander run. It's something, you'll have a brother that you really like, that is really good, and he dies, and all of a sudden this other little goofy dude comes, like you kill everybody and they're like, we got your one guy. And then all of a sudden this little budding flower pops out of the ground and that's your next indebted. And he just slips right into that place. And for me, I was like, okay, this is the only guy out of this whole thing. The one guy that stood out to me was this mother lover here. Man, he was so solid for me. I don't even know, how many kills did he have again? 35 kills, 42 battles. For what it's worth, that part was fun. I liked working on him. I liked having him kill things, but I just didn't feel invested. And I felt like the strategy of just when I go into a fight, this army, if I had this group with a random assorted amount of battle brothers in general, just the different characteristic traits, the different background, that's what it's called, backgrounds. I keep calling it characteristic traits. But I digress on that. Again, if every one of these guys was a random background, I would feel more than confident going against the opposition. But sadly, at the end of the day, guys, they're fodder. They feel like fodder. It feels like I'm putting like children inside of this on all this armor. It just feels like a bunch of children, and some of them are starting to bud. I just didn't personally like this run. I feel like they need to change it to when you free somebody, you can break that level 7 cap, and all of a sudden you can go to level 11 and they can help you out. You know what I mean? Like, that would be cool. When I go to free somebody, like I said, when I go to, no, that's not one. Let's say I go to free my favorite guy, right? They're not telling me, hey, here's 1,000 crowns. Who lets a indebted or slave go with all this money? Meanwhile, after you do that, everybody's sitting back. Not a single person gets a true morale check, where it's like, all the morale should not be at a baseline 50. I feel like it should be at like 70. Like, it should jump to 70, where everyone's like, man, good for him, or even like setting him free might make these guys be all pissed off about it. Like, they're like, oh man, I can't believe that. I can't believe that they let him go, type of thing. It should be, you should feel something. I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but it just feels like it was just a quick filler. Like, instead of saying, oh, here's reparations, it's like, wow, like these guys are legit being freed, or you're freeing them into your company where it's just, I don't know. I hope you guys see where I'm coming from with this. And when you do play it, just, man, I don't know. Just try to, maybe role-playing it out would be the best way to play this run, but it doesn't feel great. I feel like it's missing something. It's missing that, I wish we could use the name Indebted and forget about the other name and stuff, but keep those old mechanics that were talked about in the dev blogs and feel out this group, because it just feels empty. It feels empty with a bunch of fodder and some good strategies that you can come up with, but just at the end of the day, day 100 is just a dread to get to there from like day 70. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Please hit the like, subscribe, and yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Bye.